Hello and welcome to Edison TV. Today I'm joined by Dmitry Shashkov, CEO of Nanoco. Nanoco are a developer, licensor and manufacturer of quantum dots and other advanced materials. Dmitry, many thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Dan. Good to be here.
Can you start by just introducing yourself, the roles and experience that you've had prior to Nanoco, and perhaps talk a little bit about why you joined the business?
Yeah. Thanks, Dan, for having me here. It's good to share my thoughts. My background has been in various advanced materials for over 20 years. So I'm relatively new to quantum dots, but I'm not new. I spent most of my professional career helping various businesses grow in advanced materials and associated industries, mostly in semiconductors and in the adjacent markets, such as flat panel display, photovoltaic, LED lighting, and similar markets. My original training is in physics and in material science, but after that I spent about 5 years at McKinsey, working mostly with chemical and industrial companies on growth strategies. And with that background, I subsequently spent about 20 years studying at Honeywell and a variety of other companies, large and small. Some of them public, some others are private equity or venture capital owned companies. So I've seen a variety of businesses and business models in advanced materials. And the specific learning about quantum dots is something I was focusing in my last few months as I started with Nanoco. The reason I was interested in the job is very simple. I absolutely believe in Nanoco's potential to become the leading supplier of this really breakthrough technology to different markets. But historically, the company struggled to develop a viable commercial business. In many ways, it's, in my view, a diamond in the rough. The task of growing the business, which has sound technology, but didn't develop for one reason or another, good commercial strategy, is something which I enjoy doing. And you could say this is my specialty. And that's what I saw in the company, and I was very excited to join. And in the last few months, that feeling only became stronger.
All right, and now turning towards a couple of the recent developments with Nanoco, you've had the launch of litigation against LG, and then today we've seen the announcement of a new JDA. Maybe discussing the latter of those first. Can you talk about the new joint development agreement?
Yeah, we see a lot of interest from various companies, large and small, to bring this quantum dot-based infrared image sensing technology into the world. In this case, we teamed up with a large Asian chemical companies. In its makeup, this second JDA is very similar to the first one. They both target quantum dot-based image sensors. In both cases, our partners are focusing on heavy metal-free materials. That is also our specialty. While we have lead-containing quantum dots in our portfolio, those were the first to see the real-world applications. We are developing and improving our portfolio on the lead-free. That includes indium arsenide and indium antimonide based quantum dots. That is exactly the type of chemistry which our partners want to bring into the consumer applications first and foremost.
Right, and exploring your progress in sensing more generally. Now you've now got 2 JDA partners. You talked about the applications there, but can you talk about the key milestones that we should expect from those developments?
Yeah, in each of those programs, we usually have a well-structured approach with milestones and with performance targets, which will enable the sensor with the right functionality, reliability, and deliver on customer expectations. In each of those cases, the process of development is iterative. We develop a critical material which becomes part of the sensor, but there are many other elements in that sensor which all need to work in concert. In the end, the performance of the ultimate device is not just driven by quantum dots, but by every other layer in the system. So we rapidly iterate our materials, immediately put them into the sensor structure, test the performance, and repeat that process dozens and dozens of times. But at the conclusion of this process, we have a well-defined material system for each of the layer of the sensor, as well as the process, how the entire structure comes together. That becomes our low volume process, which then needs to go through the process of scaling up and building of enough sensors to provide the necessary reliability testing. That could be a separate phase, can also take another year or two, depending how large is the data package which needs to be developed. In the end, for the joint development agreements which we have right now, those are targeting consumer applications with rather high volume, and they may take a little bit longer to bring it to the high volume stage. We have a number of other industrial partners who are targeting defense, surveillance, and quality control applications. And those are smaller companies working on smaller volume markets, but they're moving very, very fast. For future development of Nanoco, we would like to maintain that portfolio of companies, large and small, working on different end-use applications, because that also de-risks our own development work.
Interesting. And then turning towards display, I guess the big news of the last few days was the launch of litigation against LG. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we simply continue to do what we said we will do. We had a successful outcome with Samsung. Samsung ended up purchasing a license to all the quantum dot related technology for flat panel display. And when Samsung launched quantum dot enabled TVs, QLED configuration as they call it, they were absolutely the dominant player, perhaps well in excess of 90% market share. But that was a few years ago. Since then, many other players developed this technology. It is in the mainstream right now, not just across televisions of different size, but also high-end monitors, and even some of the notebook computers are now quantum dot enabled. And in all of the cases, we are doing pretty thorough analysis to understand what technology is used in the particular device. And when we find that that technology is utilizing our proprietary methods, which we were defending against Samsung, we take action. So this is exactly what happened with LG, and we will continue to identify other participants in the LCD market where we can establish this type of licensing approach with regards to our technology.
Right, and then looking at the whole quantum dot television display market in a little bit more breadth, there seems to be a bit of a pickup in terms of interest in cadmium-free quantum dots outside of Europe and in Asia. Can you help us, I guess, calibrate that opportunity for Nanoco, both in terms of how quickly could this happen and how big is that market opportunity?
Yeah, you're correct, Dan. It is a early emerging trend. Now, by our calculations, today approximately half of the LCD market with quantum dot layer in it is still cadmium-based. And the producers of those cadmium-based quantum dot TVs are mostly based in China and some of them in Taiwan. Whereas in Korea and in Japan and in other geographies, transition to cadmium-free has been fully complete. I think the trend will continue, but it would be slow. You're correct that it is driven by the European regulation, by RoHS ruling, which is currently in place, and expectations that it will continue to tighten. That leaves suppliers of cadmium televisions with a dilemma. Either they supply televisions with very low cadmium content so they can fit into the regulations, then they under-deliver on the color performance, or they simply avoid the European market. I believe most of Asian players are watching these developments very closely, because what happened historically, European Union specifically, always has been more aggressive in introducing those environmental regulations, but other geographies of the world tend to follow, sometimes with a delay. And I think this is likely to happen here as well. So we interact with companies in Asia who see this trend, and we begin to do some work with them to convert current configurations from cadmium-based to cadmium-free. This process will not be fast, but we believe it will continue to shift market share in the LCD market away from cadmium towards the cadmium-free quantum dots, which Nanoco pioneered and has the patented technology around.
Get you. And we've always considered quantum dots to be sort of a platform technology, if you like. The range of potential applications is very wide. Near-term focus has been on display and sensing, but of all of those other applications, is there anything there that's exciting you?
Yeah, without a doubt. By far, the biggest focus for us right now is on image sensor, just because so many different companies pursuing so many different applications all at once. But right behind that is some of the work we started to do in photovoltaic. That's a relatively mature industry, but some of the additional improvements to this technology appear to have a really strong value proposition. And the specific application, which is of great interest to us, is so-called down-converting layers. Those are the layers which take the less useful part of the solar spectrum and they convert it to the more useful part when it comes to electricity generation. It's a very simple concept, but with previous generations of technology, nobody had a good recipe how to do it well. It appears that quantum dots can do the job. And we are now engaged with some of the leading photovoltaic companies. Again, it's going to be a joint development process. First, we will prototype on a small scale, but if and when we are successful to deliver the technical performance, we expect this technology will go on a pretty large scale. I think in a few years from now, it may overtake flat panel display as the largest application by volume. But there's still technical work to be done for sure.
Great. It'd be great to see another leg to the growth story.
Yeah.
You've got the CDX process ongoing, the process of finding a buyer for the operational assets of the business. Can you, as far as you're able, talk about that and the key milestones on that process?
Yeah, we follow pretty well-defined, well-structured process. We started the process in the first quarter, calendar quarter of this year. And by now we have completed what I would call phase one, which means we put together all the materials describing the company. We had a significant outreach campaign, well north of 200 different companies with potential interest to make an investment in Nanoco, covering every relevant geography on the world map, as well as a number of different asset classes, strategic investors, financial investors, and anywhere in between. That process is now largely complete. And we expect to start the phase two, where a small group of companies have been down selected and they would be submitting their preliminary bids or indications of interest. This process is underway right now, and we expect to complete it sometime in the second calendar quarter. And if everything goes well, we expect to have a deal sometime before end of the calendar year. Now, in M&A, success is never guaranteed. But I'm encouraged by the fact how strong the engagement has been so far and how well we organized the process and provided access to all the relevant information to potential investors. That part tells me that we should be well on track to deliver a good proposal sometime later this year.
Dmitry, hoping it all goes well with the process. Never a dull moment with Nanoco, but many thanks for coming in and running through all the things that are going on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan.